Hello guys, you already heard that Colin Powell died of COVID-19 complications. He was 84 and he had also been suffering from cancer. This was too much for him. Tributes are being paid to former US Secretary of State Colin Powell. He died of COVID-19 complications at the age of 84. The former top military officer died on Monday morning, his family said. He was fully vaccinated. Powell became the first African American Secretary of State in 2001 under Republican President George W. Bush. He also sparked controversy for helping garner support for the Iraq War. We have lost a remarkable and loving husband, father, grandfather, and a great American, the family said in a statement, thanking the staff at the Walter Reid Medical Center for their caring treatment. Powell had previously been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a type of blood cancer which may have made him more susceptible to COVID symptoms, according to US media, as well as Parkinson's disease. President Joe Biden, calling Powell a dear friend, said he had embodied the highest ideals of both warrior and diplomat. Former President Bush was among the first to pay tribute to a great public servant as well as a family man and a friend who was such a favorite of presidents that he earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice. Mr. Bush's Vice President Dick Cheney saluted Powell as a man who loved his country and served her long and well, while also being a trailblazer and role model for so many. Condoleezza Rice, Powell's successor as Secretary of State and the first black woman in the role, called him a truly great man whose devotion to our nation was not limited to the many great things he did while in uniform or during his time spent in Washington. Much of his legacy will live on in the countless number of young lives he touched. Current Secretary of State Antony Blinken called Powell's life a victory of the American dream. Powell gave the Department of State the very best of his leadership. Mr. Blinken said he never stopped believing in America and we believe in America in no small part because it helped produce someone like Colin Powell. Former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, who worked closely with Powell during the early years of the Iraq War, said he was someone of immense capability and integrity, who was a great companion with a lovely and self-deprecating sense of humor. Remembrances also poured in from prominent African American leaders. Civil rights activist Al Sharpton called him a sincere and committed man, while members of the Congressional Black Caucus praised his legacy of valor and integrity. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, the first black man to serve in that role, hailed Powell as a tremendous personal friend and mentor who would be impossible to replace. Once a moderate Republican, Powell became a trusted military advisor to a number of leading U.S. politicians. But he broke with his party to endorse Barack Obama in 2008, as well as Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. A sharp critic of Republican President Donald Trump, Powell said he could no longer call himself a Republican after the violent 6th January riot at the US Capitol. He also saw service and was wounded in Vietnam, an experience that later helped define his own military and political strategies. However, he would say himself that his own legacy had been damaged by his speech to the United Nations Security Council, which used faulty intelligence to back the invasion of Iraq. It was painful, it's painful now, Powell told ABC News in 2005. This news is from BBC. Please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.